And all right. Let us go. Okay. Okay. So, what lovely David and I were here to share, to talk about the next 45 days of what you need to do to stay ahead of this business curve, to get your leads flowing, and to get your business moving in the right direction. Now, sorry, people are coming, or they can wait. Sorry, guys, people just coming. Don't you love all this coming? Okay, so what we're going to talk about today basically are 3 areas. We're going to get you set. So where do you want to be in 45 days and set the goals? We're going to get you ready, what you actually need to prepare to make it happen. And we're going to go. So what activity do you need to do to get you there? So let's go. Now, what we've been finding is that some poor business owners along the way have felt a little bit like this. So they felt a little bit like they've been smashed, you know, the emotions have been all over the place, and it's just horrible, really. But we are here to let you know that the tide is turning, which is exciting. And I'm sure we've all felt it, where things are all a little bit more positive, buyer confidence is increasing. And today, what we want to do is we want to share with you some real life case study examples of what we've been doing with our clients right now, and how you can also jump in on what is actually working. So let me pass over to David. And David, if you could introduce yourself to the group a little bit, please. Hang on, you're on mute.
There we go.
There you go.
Thanks, Michelle. Welcome, everyone. My name is David Furs. I've got over 20 years senior commercial manager experience in organisations ranging from government, small business, up to multinationals. And yeah, I work with business owners to help them to get their planning right, because businesses are all about planning. A lot of businesses don't plan, or they don't plan effectively and execute it. I work with business owners to plan, and I'm talking in the broader context. So not only developing a business plan, but actually creating then the operational plan and a way of implementing everything that you want to achieve your vision and actually go beyond where you thought was possible. And I work with Michelle, and we've been working together now for a little time, purely because Michelle has a really good foundation in the marketing side of business. But if you're marketing a product that's a dud product, or you're marketing to increase sales where you're actually losing money on every sale, you're actually putting your business into the ground. So we work together to work with businesses and make them understand their business better, and help them to, again, have a higher return than they thought was possible. Thanks, Michelle.
Fantastic. Thank you, David, and thank you for joining us today. Oh, more coming, sorry. So a little bit about me, because there's a couple of you I don't know. So I have been running businesses for 16 years now across different industries. And the reason why I went into O-marketing is because of the massive change in the digital marketing landscape. And what I've found is that working with David is fantastic, because actually the biggest challenge we have is that we grow businesses so quickly with the implementation of the marketing and strategy that it's important to have that business knowledge there to help with staffing, to help with, you know, products and services and all of that sort of thing. So it's really wonderful when you have someone there who's looking at the numbers, looking at the growth, and then we are able to match in our marketing strategy to make sure that the client receives exactly what they want. So I've been running O-marketing now for 6 years, and when we first started, it was all about teaching clients how to do it. It wasn't fast enough for me, so we started building the team, of which there are now 7 of us, and we actually help them with the strategy, and then we implement the strategy and get them the results. So that is what we are all about. Now I'm going to pass over to David and we'll get you started.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, as Australia gets back to work, a few business owners that I've been talking to have been saying, "What's the value of the plan?" Like, obviously, some businesses haven't created a plan ever, or they've created one for a financing or validation for stakeholders or whatever it might be, but it's never actually used. And other businesses are saying, "Well, we don't know where we're starting from. We don't know our starting point. So how can we plan for the future if we don't know what the future looks like?" And that's the ideal time to plan, because if you don't plan now, I mean, the current plan that you have obviously is null and void. So we can drop that one, go for a full reset on your plan, because all of your assumptions have changed, the market has changed, and your business may have even changed through the global pandemic. So you have to look at now the way that I structure. Thanks, Michelle. Michelle's driving, so.
Sorry about that. I was asking people who has a business plan. Sorry.
Fair enough. So the way that we historically plan, we start with a 5-year vision and say, well, this is where we want our business to be in 5 years. And then we step back and say, well, if we want it to be there in 5 years, what do we want to look like in 3 years so we can achieve that 5-year strategy? And then come back to the 12 months. So what do we need to do in the next 12 months to help us to step up to achieve the 3-year, to achieve the 5-year, if you know what I mean? But the problem is, as I said, there's been a full reset on the economy and on the way the business is structured. So the better way to do planning in the current environment, and I'm not saying this is like a forever and a day now, but this is where we need to be in the current environment, is look at 12 months from now. Where do you want your business to restart to? Look at your current assumptions and develop up then from where you need to be then in the 3 years and the 5 years. So if you click through that, Michelle, thank you. And next slide, thanks. So I'm not going to go into business planning today, because obviously that's a whole topic in itself. But what I'm going to talk about now is getting down to the 45 days. So we start with a 12-month operational plan. So the view where we want to be in 12 months' time, starting from obviously today. Break that down into a 12-week cycle. And the 12 weeks is approximately the 90 days that we're all familiar with, 3 months, whatever you want to term it. But that's really how you get your action plan in play and say, well, what do we want to do within the first 12 weeks to achieve what we want to do in the 12 months? Take that one step further, 45 days, which is what we're talking about today. What do we need to do today? And from the point of view, normally I don't drill down to 45 days. Normally the 3-month period is quite is the time frame that you need to get businesses to get traction on the projects and the goals that you're setting to get the foundations right. But because we're in this business restart mode, and businesses are either starting off again, they've been closed for a while, or they're experiencing more demand now because people are actually out and about because they can be. 45 days is quite critical at this point in time, because you've only got one phase now to restart your business properly. And that includes, if you've made any changes over the last period to pivot, if you've added new products or services in, or withdrawn products or services, what's your offering going to be, and how are you going to implement that in the short term to make sure that you're still profitable to drive up to that long term where demand will increase back to where it was 6 months ago. So what is the 45-day plan? So the 45-day plan is all about having a summary of where you want to be within the next, again, 45 days. So you look at what you want your KPIs to be, because it will be different because your demand has reduced and or changed anyway. So what are your KPIs? And I'll go through a couple of those as examples in the next couple of slides. What goals are you setting for the next 45 days? So just look at the window and say, what goals do I want to achieve? And again, I'll go through some examples of those. And also, what actions do we need to deliver to make our business, to create that foundation for our business, to take it forward, then to step up and start to be able to service our customers as they continually start to regenerate into our business. Thanks, Michelle. So some KPIs, and KPIs are really about what performance indicators are relevant to your business. So it's not, I can't dictate and say, right, this is what your KPIs need to be, because it is your business. What are your key drivers in your business? However, there are a couple which are constant. Number one is, what income do you want to achieve? So what's your KPI? What measurement are you doing on income? So you want to achieve whatever level, and you know how you're starting off from. So it's got to be a valid point in time, which is today. If you're starting from a baseline of 0 customers because you've been closed, or if you're starting from a baseline of maybe 5 customers who are constantly coming to your premises or your business. So generally what your income level should be and how you're going to increase that over the next 45 days to, again, be able to create the cash flow that you need to keep your business going. From that income, then, what profit are you expecting? And I normally measure that as a percentage of income. And again, look historically at where you need to be. If you're, for example, historically 10% profit on your income level, is that relevant in today's market? You might think, no, it's not. It's only 5% in the first 15 days, but then I might move up to 15 to 7 and then to 10 or something like that, because it will be a staged return on people coming back. How many customers do you want? So at the moment, you know how many customers, again, are in your business, but how many customers in the next 45 days? What's your growth pattern on the number of customers that you want to achieve? And what's your average spend per customer? Again, these are stats which you should know in your business already, and it's just reapplying it to the current market and how you're going to take your business forward. Definitely, if you don't know those stats, I can help you to work them out, and we can talk about that offline individually. And then, as I mentioned, other key drivers which are business specific. So you know what your business is about. And if you're doing manufacturing, or if you're doing consultancy, or if you're doing whatever else might be out there, catering or hospitality, there's so many different businesses. You each have your own key performance indicator that you have to meet to make your business a success. So what you need to know your business really well, and and I'll just touching on that. What products are you selling? And have clarity around your products. And I know Michelle and I have had conversations about businesses that don't have clarity around what they're actually selling, which is an amazing starting point when you go into a business and think, well, they know what they're doing. They're turning over over $1 million, and some of them don't even know what they're really selling. Next one.
Sorry.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah. What's your highest volume product? And we just flick through these, Michelle, please. So, yeah. So what's your highest volume product? So that's the one that you turn over the most. It may not be the most profitable one, but it's the one that you sell the most of. What's your highest margin product? So the one that you make the most profit from. And again, what demand do you have for that? What product is your business reliant on to survive? And this is a critical one that not many people talk about, because in business, there's maybe 1 or 2 products that if you never sold any of them again, you'd be out the door. It doesn't matter what else you have on your offering. So think of that. What product is your business reliant on to survive? It might be a range of products. It might be grouping, but just think about that. And the other thing which business owners don't really understand is what their break-even point is. And if you don't know that, going into a reopening strategy now is fraught with danger, because you could be losing money for every transaction that you're doing, because you've got staffing to suit your demand, you're obviously opening up your premises or whatever it might be if you're a shop front. There are different costs which are incurring, which you might actually be losing money per transaction. Thanks. And our average cost per customer, so how much people spend on average in your business. So if you look at that from a point of view, I'm getting a little bit into the weeds a little bit here, but think about this for your business. So what revenue do you want to achieve? So you've set your goal on your revenue, or you set your target, the profit from your revenue. What's your average spend per transaction? So if you divide the revenue by the spend per transaction, that's the number of customers you need to be selling to. And they have to be spending at that level. So how many, and then think about it from historically and also in the current market, how many leads do you need to generate one client? So you might need 10 leads to get one client. You might need 1 lead to get one client. You might need 5, whatever your ratio is. But if you multiply then the number of leads by the number of customers you require, that's how many leads you require to be matching with now to achieve your demand. And to achieve that revenue, you've got to keep that constant. Otherwise, that revenue line won't hold true because you've made the assumption about the average spend and also the number of customers you have. So obviously those two multiplied together equal the revenue. Thanks.
Cool.
Yep.
And
were there any questions on that? Sorry, Michelle, we might
yes.
just pause and say, is there any questions or?
Does everybody know what their conversion rates are? How many leads they need in order to convert one? You want to put it in the chat box? So how many actual warm leads do you talk to before you convert one? Is it 10 people to convert one? Is it 50? Somebody? Usually fantastic. Mike, that's a good conversion. Jack, your conversion rate's really high, isn't it? Oh, very good. Very good. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Well, the thing is, oh, very good. Thank you, Christina. The thing is, guys, unless we know those numbers, unless we know 1 and 2, excellent. Yes. And that is so true. That is so true. So unless we know what we want to actually achieve from the business plan, it's very hard to develop the marketing strategy, right? And once we have that strategy, which I'm going to talk about that now, then we can actually make the plan, which then determines the activity required, which then gives us the results. Makes sense, right? So let's just talk about what's actually in that marketing strategy and what you need to think about for the next 45 days. Now, don't forget, and this is really, really important, is that everything that you do, whether it's your business planning outcomes with your KPIs or whether it's any sort of marketing activity, you want to test and measure everything along the way. And anybody who tells you that you can't test and measure don't believe them, okay? Because everything can be measured, right? So what is in our marketing strategy? Okay, so I've been doing a lot of these lately, and mostly what I want to do is take you through these different points and talk about the challenges that people are having so that you can feel free to put in the chat box any challenges you find as we go, and I'm happy to address them. So if there are also any words where you think, what does that mean? Please put that in there as well, okay? So the simple process of a marketing strategy is basically work out who we want to target, how many of them do we want, market to them, they come, we convert, we make money, right? That's the simple process. But unfortunately, digital marketing has thrown a spanner in the works, and there's a lot more noise out there in the market. There's more pipelines and channels that people can be seen on. Does everybody understand what a pipeline or channel is? If not, throw it in the chat box. So what happens now in 1 internet minute is massive. And so what we need to make sure is that we're doing 3 particular things right now. We have to be very, very succinct with who our ideal client is. We have to be very clear on what our message is to that particular client. And we also have to make sure that our message aligns with them, particularly when it comes to pricing and what we are offering them, okay? Because of this noise and all of these different channels, if we're not clear, we're just going to be left behind. Let me go back. So yesterday, just to give you an example, I had a lovely client come through for a strategy session meeting. And when I said to her, who do you want to work with? She said 20 to 30-year-olds. And I said, are you playing on Instagram? And she said, no. And I said, how much are you charging? And she said, $997, and I want allied health professionals. Now, how many 20 to 30-year-old allied health professionals can afford $997 a month? And you see, so it's very important that you pick the right channel, you pick the right price, you pick the right ideal client. So let me give you some examples. So we had buying agents who came to us, and the previous agency they were working with were trying to sell a $9,000 package cold through a Facebook ad. Yeah, not going to happen, okay? Wrong channel and wrong pricing. Then we had a quality management company who was trying to sell group sessions for quality management. It just doesn't exist. It's too personal and needs to be a tailored approach. So it's really, really important, guys, that we work out who those ideal clients are and how many of them that we want, okay? And really specifically. So next, it's important that we pick the right pipelines. Now, the rules here, if you want to grow rapidly over the next 45 days, is pick 5 or 6 pipelines and run them consistently. 2 of them at least need to be social media, okay? Because the beauty of social media is that you can get through those touch points in the buying cycle faster. So for example, we took an exhibition and display company from 4 million to 5.3 million in 8 months using 5 pipelines, okay? And we hadn't even started running lead generation campaigns yet. Does everyone understand what I mean by a lead generation campaign? Yes, good, okay, cool. Feel free to write because sometimes we don't know. So when I'm talking about pipelines, I'm talking about you can use social media channels like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can use free PR. You can use blogs, networking, SEO, AdWords. There's a million of them now, okay? So another example, so we increased sales by 30% for a wholesale florist who was targeting Brisbane florists simply by moving their social media from a selling perspective to an educating perspective. And then we ran Facebook ads directly to those clients. They came to the page, they loved what they saw because they were being educated about the flowers, and then up the sales went by 30%. We moved a dog training company from 15 bookings a week to 106 per week by changing the way that they presented their brand, the way they marketed, and then ran them Facebook advertising and an email sequence. From 15 to 106 bookings a week, massive increase. So, a question? Joseph, I'll come back to your lead generation question, my dear. So the next thing is, how do we attract them? So the most important thing, guys, is that as part of the strategy, if you confuse people, you lose people. Okay, I love that saying. And even more specifically now. So for example, I market to men on LinkedIn and I talk to the women on Facebook. Very different messaging, different colors, different everything, yeah? So particularly in this market, we want to be very clear on and relevant to how you are solving their particular problems on the particular channels, okay? So the whole idea of marketing is to build a relationship of know, like, and trust, to gain credibility and to move clients through the buying cycle, which I'll talk about a bit later. In the past, it used to be 4 touch points before clients were ready to buy, but now it's 5 to 20 touch points to do that. So it's very important that we are doing enough marketing and being seen enough times and using enough touch points. And here's some examples of touch points posts, print advertising, emails, events, newsletters. So what we're doing is we're constantly being seen in front of people, and I'm going to give you a whole example later to put all this together. But the challenge that I find people have is that they give up too early. And if you've read the Malcolm Gladwell book, which is fantastic, about the tipping point, we find they're just so close, but you just can't stop. So remember, 5 to 20 touch points for your clients, okay? So when it comes to moving through the buying cycle, where do we take them next? Now I'm going to talk about the buying cycle in the next section, but remember, on everything that you put out there in the marketplace, or when you're talking to people, you always have to have a call to action to let them know what the next step is. It's a big thing I find that people they just forget. So if you put out an article, tell them what they need to do next to get in contact with you, or connect with you, or share it, or, you know, so it's all good to educate, but we've got to tell them what the next step is, okay? And then the second thing, and Mike, you could give us more stuff on this, but it's the buying cues. So when it comes to conversion, what I'm finding is, people are not following up enough. You've got to follow up at least 5 times these days. Would you agree with that, Mike? Or more even?
Yes, certainly you do. People are busy, and you know, they're juggling, spinning many plates, juggling many things. But sometimes just to continue to hold that top of mind awareness, so that, you know, it's not that they don't want to contact you. Sometimes they just forget and get busy. So yeah, you do have to send reminders, and it also shows that you're enthusiastic and that you follow up, because it says a lot about you as an individual, about your business. So yeah, it's important.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Mike's a sales specialist. And then, as Christine would know, so Christine has send out cards, and it's that whole point of constantly staying in touch with people, so that they're seeing what you are doing, so they're seeing, you know, how you're marketing in different ways and all that sort of thing. So the other thing when it comes to conversion, guys, is asking for the sale. You know, we do all of this work to market, we do all of this work to attract people, and then we just forget to ask. Okay, so that's a big one I find. So let me pass back over to David to talk. Oh no, sorry, lies, business plan, marketing plan. So now we've encompassed all of the strategy, right? So that's thinking about all that. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention was to have a realistic time frame. So let me just ask you, if you had no network, no database, you had nothing, you'd been operating for 2.5 years, but then you suddenly wanted to attract a whole lot of clients, what sort of time frame do you reckon that it would take to start marketing in order to get any sort of warm leads coming through? Stick it in the chat box. I'm really keen to know, from a time work point of view, how long you think it would take to get some warm leads. A long time. 6 months. Wow. Fantastic. 1 month. Fabulous. Fabulous. Great. 2 years. Goodness me, Susan. What are you doing? Bless. Well, I appreciate that, because I'm going to take you through again an example of, once you do this marketing activity, what we're doing with a client, to show you what actual results you can get. 2 to 3 months, depending. Fantastic. That's great. So everybody is coming up with realistic ideas. Most people say a week. So that's really wonderful that you all are on track with the right answers. When we first start out, we put together a monthly marketing calendar, right? Which everybody wants to do. And for the first month, we go really hard. So we pick the channels, and we're posting every day pretty much. And I just want to tell you why, because at the end of the day, particularly when it comes to social media, you want to be kicking the algorithms in. Yes, so on Facebook and LinkedIn particularly, once they love you and it starts going, then they're going to show more of your posts. They're going to all of that sort of thing. But it's really important to get your timing right. If you're going business to business, LinkedIn at 10 a.m. on a Monday is fantastic. And Facebook at 7, because it's cooler now. In summer, it's 6 o'clock. But that's Monday. But then on Tuesday, you're looking at Facebook at 7:30 p.m. So it all depends on who your ideal client is and when they're on. As I said, the quality managers, we actually talk to them at 12 p.m. or 2:30, we get the highest. But your analytics will give you all that information anyway. But it's just really important with that you have a plan and that you make sure you follow the plan in order to get the momentum flowing. Okay, cool. So David, I'm going to pass over to you to talk about data.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, productivity is essential in how your business will operate. So again, we're looking at the current market we're in. And as we're scaling up, some businesses will start to respond differently to others. Some will try to resource up based on what their demand was 6 months ago, and others will work towards having a stage process, which is the right way to go. So to get the productivity right, you have to understand what your cost base is. You have to understand the rules and parameters that you're working within. So that's legal and operational. Work out how you will operate. So I'm talking generally a shop front here, but it's the same for any other business, realistically. How are you going to manage the customer flows through your workplace? How are you going to control the number of people who come in based on the number that you're allowed to have in the current environment? But again, it's also about things like, if you do have an office space, how much floor space do you have available? And if you had a call center, for example, how many desks can you occupy and how are they going to be spaced out? So as you do that, then you have to look at your staffing model as well. So as we bring people back from working remotely or from, because they've been laid off, or not laid off is probably not the right word, but they haven't been working and now we want to bring them back into the workplace. What staffing model do we need, though, to make that work for the demand that we're expecting? And create a communication strategy with your team. Many businesses previous to COVID didn't have a proper communication strategy with their team anyway, but now is the time to implement a communication strategy. They're at the front line. They're the ones who are dealing with the customers on the day-to-day basis. If you're the manager and you have a team under you, they're the ones who can give you the feedback as to what's working, what's not, and how you might be able to improve things. So remember to have that communication strategy, whether it be a weekly team meeting, whether it be a suggestion box, whatever it is, but just make sure you implement something so that people will give you that feedback. And every genuine suggestion, make sure you address it. Don't just discount it straight away. Address it, explain why it will or won't work, or explain the thought process as to what you're going to do next to see the validity of the whole thing, whether it will be right for your business. And also then, as you're scaling up, look to make sure you have enough resources. And I'm talking about whether you have cost of goods, stationery, cleaning product, whatever it might be in this environment, make sure you have enough of it on hand so you can actually start to run an effective business. Thanks, Michelle. The other thing which, again, many businesses are guilty of is they wait for month end, or they wait for a point in time where they review their numbers. And yes, that's a good juncture to look at, but remember, especially in this time frame, look at the daily data and look at regular data in any respect, how things are tracking. And I'll give you a worked example in a minute. But you have to know what the data is telling you and make any changes on the fly. So there may be things which are happening now, which if you don't respond to, it's just going to keep creating a problem until you do address it. And the longer you leave it, the more disadvantaged you get, whether it be a financial or an operational problem that you're not dealing with. So as an example, I've done one quickly on the next page. So assume that you have a daily forecast of 20 people, 20 customers at $30 a head. So that's a $600. That's what you think your revenue is going to be. actually you're going to get 5 people. You start seeing people come through, and you've only got 5 people turning up at $10 at an average spend of $10. So if you look at that, obviously there's a disparity between the two. You're losing $550 a day, and you multiply that by 7 is $3,850. So you can see if you waited even a week, you're already $3,000 or $3,800 off your revenue line. Whereas if you had responded earlier, you may have been able to, up the ante on Facebook posts or some sort of marketing strategy to bring people through the door. And the longer you wait, the longer that will get worse. And the other thing which doesn't take into account is the cost. So if you've staffed up and if you structured your business to deal with those 20 people, and all of a sudden you're only getting 5, you've got a lot of idle people sitting around who you're paying for, who you need to restructure your cost base, whether that be staffing or whether it be stock on hand or whatever it might be, or your pricing strategy. So you've got to take this into account and say, well, if I don't look at if you don't look at it on a daily basis, then this is opportunity lost. And especially if this is a simple example here, but in some examples I've seen, it takes them. It may take 2 or 3 weeks to rectify the issue. And if you wait till month end, you've lost a month, and then you've lost another 2 or 3 weeks to implement the issue. So all of a sudden you're nearly 2 months behind on a revenue which you could have fixed at the front end. So keep that in mind for now, but also for all your business, just to keep an eye on specific numbers. Obviously, don't analyse the entire business. Don't expect to review your P&L every day because it won't be accurate in the instance because things may not be posted in a timely fashion. But just make sure that you understand some critical driver numbers, and if things start to move one way or another that you're not expecting, make sure you know what that's telling you about the business.
Absolutely. It's so important, the data. Data tells a story about everything. And like I said before, some people think that they can't track their marketing data. On our last webinar, I actually went through all the metrics and everything. So I'll include that in an email afterwards for everybody, so you can really check out those metrics so you can see yourself what you need to be tracking. But what's really interesting is not only the marketing activity to do enough to get your revenue, but you also have to be careful that you don't do too much and then you get stuck again. So some examples that we've had, and this is why it is so very important. Cool, Christine. It is so very important to be measuring on a daily and weekly basis, particularly when you're running campaigns. So we had one beautiful client, Rosie, who had an electrician business. She had 4 vans. She wanted to go to 5 vans. And I said, if we market you for a month, you're going to get there. Are you ready with staff? Are you ready to go? And she was like, yeah, I'll be right. And of course, after 1 month, it happened. And was she ready? No. Same thing, David, when we had the exhibition and trade company that I was talking about, they wanted to get from 4 million to 6 million in 2 years. Now we got them there to 5.3 in 8 months. Now, David from the beginning was saying, we need to make sure that at this point, we're going to put on an operational person, we're going to put on a salesperson. They were like, yeah. And of course, at 8 months, we got to 5.3 million and they went, what am I going to do? Yeah. So same with the dog trainer.
Sorry, Michelle, I'll just interrupt there. The whole strategy with that is they hadn't even thought about it, and they didn't have even a process in place to do that, let alone have people in play. So it was, they were very much caught on the back foot.
And this is what we find with a lot of the companies, even with the dog trainers. So it's all good to come and say we want to increase our bookings. So we went from the 15 per week to 106 per week. But of course, the question then is, can you handle all of those extra people in training? Yes. But of course, after 1 month, I need dog trainers. Yeah. So it's really important, guys, that the marketing activity you do, it's very good to do it and get the results, but we also need to be tracking and measuring very often to make sure we actually don't get too big a result, or we, you know what I mean. So I just wanted to sort of mention that. So results, very important. Now I want to take you through, oops, the whole point of the marketing is to move people through the buying cycle faster. Okay, now there are 5 steps in the buying cycle. Now, and this is where people, particularly when it comes to social media, get a bit stuck. So the idea of social media is not to sell, sell, sell and smash people constantly. It's to help them move from the point of being unaware through to the point of purchase. Okay, so the unaware people, they've got no idea what's going on. They don't know they have a problem. They don't know there's a solution. Forget about them. Yeah. But it's the people who have that niggling problem, that's number 2, but they're not yet sure there's a solution. They're the people we want to be educating. And the next people who now understand that there's a solution in the marketplace and they're looking for someone to give them the answers. And of course, that's you. So it's in those 2 points that you want to be providing that educational content for that ideal client, where they go, aha, you have all my answers, you're the one for me. What's very important then, and again, people are getting stuck here, is then they come looking at you because they want to consider your products and services and check if you're aligned to them. And this is where people are going wrong with their pricing. So, and their branding. So it's really important that all of that is all lined up with your ideal client. Lastly, of course, is you want to then move them through to the purchase point, but then you don't want to forget about them. Yeah, you want to then put strategies in place so that you can continue to sell to them on an ongoing basis. So you want to have strategies about retention and upselling. There. Now let me take you through just a quick real life example. I'm going to send this funnel to you, but I think it will help to sort of put everything together. So this was the client that I mentioned before, who had no network, no database, nothing. I don't know how that happens, but that's what happened. So she came, I know, 2.5 years working. How do you not have anything? Anyway, so when she came to us, so we did her strategy on the 23rd of April, okay? We had a strategy session and that really helped get clear on who the ideal client was, okay? So she wasn't doing anything. So we went, all right, so we picked the ideal client and then what we did was we set up a webinar, okay? And a webinar right now, guys, just like this, is a really good way to educate people. It's a really good way you can record it and then reuse it. But it's, yeah, it's just and it's simple. It's a simple funnel, okay? So we set so she did the strategy on the 23rd of April. We had her first webinar on the 12th of May, okay? We picked her pipelines. So for her, we were just using Facebook and LinkedIn. And we started marketing. That's what all those content pieces are. So with that monthly marketing plan, we marketed every day based upon the webinar and what she was going to provide. So we ran the first one, we got 4 people through, which was great. She ran the webinar, went back to the people. So now we're down to touch base with those who have interacted. So that part, with all your content that you're putting out there, people are liking it, yeah? People are connecting with you, people are commenting. So what you want to do is you want to go back to those people and say, like, actually I would have done, well, it wasn't me, it was the PA, but would have gone back to you guys and gone, thanks for liking my post. Why don't you jump on the webinar? Yeah. So what happens then is you suddenly go from 6 people being booked to 26 people being booked, because like Mike said, people are busy. So, and plus you care about them and you want to help them. So go back and touch base with those people and re-invite them. So that's what we did for her. Now she held the webinar, we took the photo and we put it out there, and then we promoted the next date, which is the 21st of May. Now already for the 21st of May, she's got 8 bookings. So suddenly she's gone from nothing to 4 and 8, 12 warm leads of people who are actually interested in what she has to say, which is wonderful. But that's not very exciting, really. But what I wanted to just tell you about was when she came to us, what she had already done prior. Okay, so she had paid $3,000 for a system, yeah, which got her nothing. Then she paid $3,000 to set up Facebook ads. Ouch, nothing. Then she paid $1,500 for a copywriter to fix the Facebook ad and got nothing. Poor thing. And then she paid $1,000 for group training on marketing. And what did she get? Nothing. So sad. Poor bugger. So she came into us on the special marketing strategy COVID price of $750, which was a half price strategy session. And already after 3 weeks, she has 11 warm leads. Yeah. So, 2 strong strategic alliances as well, who will feed her business, and a hell of a lot more confidence. That was very important that she got that as well. So the thing is, when you're looking at the different marketing funnels, the whole point is to, like I said, move people through the buying cycle faster with those 5 to 20 touch points, okay? And that is by utilizing your newsletters, your blogs, etc. The other thing is that, you know, it's funny because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to bombard people, you know, but people don't jump onto LinkedIn every day. People don't jump onto Facebook every day. People don't, you know, so the more marketing channels that you're out there on, the more opportunity you have to be visible and to remind people that you are there. And remember, it's not even actually about those people who are even liking or seeing your post potentially, but what happens is it's all of those other people. I mean, this week alone, I've had 7 referrals from people who've been seeing my posts. So it's just about being visible, guys. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to send you a copy of that funnel. Has anyone got any questions about that?
Yeah, Susan's asked a question, Michelle, in the chat box.
Susan, how do you get eyes on the content? Aha. So Susan, for her on, that's a good point. So on LinkedIn, she was getting 10 views per week, right? So we started connecting with the right ideal clients who were relative to her webinar, and she went to 305 views, profile views per week. Then on Facebook, we ran an ad for $25. She went from 2 engagement to 228 people engaging. And she went from 23 reach to 2,984 for $25. So it's all about that targeted, ideal client, specific content, talking to that person. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. David.
All right, thanks. Just a final thing from me is creating a scoreboard, and it's something which is really good to have a visual aid so that you know how you're tracking. And I'm talking about a scoreboard of numbers, but also one that's visible in your office. So it might be visible to you, or if you have an office space, visible to you and your team. If it is a team, then have a stand-up meeting around it. And what the scoreboard is all about is having your key drivers. So you're looking at what I was talking about in the 45-day plan, your KPIs, and then the status of how they're delivering to what you forecast, and also to talk through what strategies you're doing to bring them back on track, or to continue on if they're going in the positive end of the scale. So how do we continue with what we're doing, what's going right? Have a discussion about any goals that you set and how they're tracking, and how whether you're actually delivering on those goals. So you might have said we'll have a team meeting once a week, or there might be other goals that you've actually set for yourself. How are you going on getting those goals in play? And also any action plans that you've set up. So if you have projects or tasks that you're delivering on, how are they tracking? And for every one of those items, have someone who's accountable. That doesn't mean they're responsible. It means they're accountable for it. So if you have a question about it, one person to go to, and it might be their team underneath it who have to respond to it, and they're responsible for delivering it. But there's one person accountable. If you make a team accountable, then no one ends up being accountable, and it won't get done. And the same sort of thing I was saying earlier with the daily data is make sure that you understand what the data is telling you, and make sure that you do take those opportunities when they present themselves, and make sure you do counteract any negative impacts and understand why it's a negative impact and how to rectify it, or at least know where to look to start the process. And scoreboard wise, intervals for me are normally either 1 week or 15 days or something like that. So it just gives everyone the perception of where they're heading, and they know that what their role they're playing actually has an impact on creating the business as it moves forward. Thanks, Michelle.
Cool. There's just a couple of questions in the chat box. Jackie, you're absolutely right about LinkedIn lately. The articles they used to be fantastic, writing a LinkedIn article and then sharing the article. I too am finding that the short posts or videos on any channel are always doing better. And the other thing, guys, that is really good is to look at your hashtags, because people are following the hashtags. I know my last 7 posts I've been trending on marketing. And what happens as a result is that your views go from, like, say, 1,100 views to then 4,500 views, because suddenly they take your hashtag and they shove it in to the whole public. So LinkedIn at the moment, guys, is a just wonderful way to talk to your ideal client. Susan, in regards to Facebook ads, again, guys, the amount of people on social media right now is phenomenal. Those dog trainers, just to give you an idea, we are spending $60 a week to get 178 odd people a week to the actual training page, of which then they're converting about 15 to 20 a week. So you're looking at 15 to 20 a day. So you don't have to spend a fortune. And with Facebook advertising right now, the more specific you are with the targeting, and it's all about targeting with the ideal client, the better the returns. So we're almost coming to the end. So I just wanted us to feel free to keep putting any questions or any takeaways. David, did you just want to share what you're going to be giving the guys in the follow-up email?
Yeah, sure, Michelle. I've developed up a template as to what a 45-day plan will look like. So it helps to break down what the KPIs are, what your goals are, and then a measurement tool. So it's sort of, it becomes a plan, but then it also becomes a scoreboard-wise as you put through all the detail as you start to know data as you operate. So that'll come through with the email after this.
Fantastic, beautiful. And guys, I'll share the funnel and also the monthly marketing plan with you. Some questions. Remember, we always try to give them a call to action. Yes, call to action, very important. Oh yes, Susan, you mentioned about the books. So guys, one of the important, there's a process to build an audience. First, you want to give away something. So for example, we've got an accountant, we've developed up a tax time checklist for them right now. So the whole point of social media is to get them engaged, get the know, like, and trust, but then get them off into your email database or into a phone call. So you want to do that nowadays by using a lead magnet. And what I mean by that is you can use a checklist, you can use a case study. For you, Susan, you can use a snippet or a chapter out of your book. There's a awesome, I'll give this away to you, but upviral.com is one genius program that we utilize. Don't tell anyone. But it's about giving away secrets and contests. Secrets. It's about sweepstakes or contests, and what it does is it helps people to share your content. It's a bloody nightmare to set up, but it's genius, because at the end of the day you want other people talking about your content rather than you, but it's a brilliant system. So something like that, Susan, would be really good for you, upviral.com. But yes, so you give them the lead magnet, they download it, you put them into an email sequence. Don't hammer them to death. I'm so sick of 50,000 emails a day. But the point is that each email then gives great content for that specific segment of the market. And then, of course, you want to sell them something after you've built up their nurturing sequence. You want to offer them something. Any data for I'm not sure what that says, Susan, but I think you're saying that if you promote a blog on your website through LinkedIn, is that what you mean? Yes, absolutely. It's another avenue of one of those pipelines that I was talking about. Because the more you can get people also onto your website, if you like it, is good. Upviral.com. Yes, Joseph, that's correct. Sharing that poster, like, yes, I can send that, Jackie, with all the touch points. Okay, Susan, fabulous. Guys, any other questions based on what we have said today in regards to your planning or your marketing activity required? I think the most important thing, David, you would agree, is that if we put it quite simply, work out how many customers you want, work out, you know, I think the biggest thing, particularly with social media, is people think that, oh, yes, I will answer you, Christina. I think people think that you can run a social media campaign, talk to 10 people, and you'll convert 2. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So you're generally talking to thousands of people to get a couple of people through. Okay, so it is all about the numbers. Retargeting is genius. So let me just give you an example of another campaign. The quality management guy, actually no, the accountant. So we're running 2 testimonial videos at the moment, and the whole point of that is purely to get people engaged. Then what we'll do is we'll run a custom audience retarget to those engaged people with the checklist, and it will be very specific to one's in a farming group and the other one is an engineering group. So it's exactly what people want to say, and then they see the value, and then we'll run a Facebook ad lead, which are also fantastic. Christina, with LinkedIn, what I mean is it doesn't mean that I'm not attracting women on LinkedIn, but it's very different. So if you'll notice, it'll be things like the 3 steps to, the colors are very sort of more, and images are more male dominated. And at the end of the day, the females that we're working with, they're very on point. You know, they're not fluffy, without being rude. So that's what we're attracting on LinkedIn. Whereas Facebook, yes, we are getting, well, we don't really anymore, but you know, and even it's more actually on LinkedIn is a bit more business to business, we're finding, and Facebook business to B2C. Thank you, Mike. Fluffy. I missed a couple of questions. Hang on. Well, thank you, Jackie. Any other? Yes. Oh, one. Can't keep up. Hang on. Yes, correct, Mike. Yeah, oh, look, LinkedIn for getting through the gatekeepers, as you would know, Mike, is just fantastic. And also remember, guys, that so depending upon who the ideal client is, once you start connecting with them, what we do is, we're a bit evil, is we go onto LinkedIn Premium for the first month with our clients, and then we connect like hell with all of the right ideal clients. What happens then after that is LinkedIn automatically kicks in its algorithm and starts showing all those clients to you over the following month, so you don't have to keep paying the $69.99, because I hate paying for things you don't have to pay for. So that is a really wonderful way of, and also the beauty of that is then LinkedIn starts showing you to those people, so they start connecting with you. It's almost evil, isn't it? Interested in strategies for local. Facebook, again, the more localized you can be, Susan, with your ads, targeting those ideal clients. So when you're looking at your demographics, the interests, so this is all within the creating of the ad. And just one thing, guys, Boost Post, look, Boost Post is good for engagement, But if you want to retarget clients, you have to set it up in under the business.facebook on your business page. Okay, so because otherwise you can't retarget custom audiences and you're sort of wasting time. But if you set it up the ad under the actual ads manager, then you can also put the pixel, you can retarget the website visits, specific URLs, you can retarget specific actions, specific events. So what happens is like, and this is one of the big points, we get a lot of people coming, we've just spent $15,000 on marketing and nothing happened. And then I go and look at what the company set up in the ads and it says 18 to 64, that's it. Yeah, what a waste of money. So they just end up, that's rubbish. The more, you should be testing your ads $5 a day. Now guys, anyone in the follow-up email, oh, good question, Christina, I'll answer that one. Anyone who is interested, we're going to send you a follow-up email anyway if you need to talk further to us about the planning or the activity. LinkedIn, it's interesting, the business pages, I don't have one set up myself at the moment on LinkedIn, but the companies that that exhibition and trade show company that I was talking about, we got a lot of interaction on the business page. And one of the important things is organic SEO, guys. So when they came to us, they were paying $800 a month for SEO. And we looked at all the search words, etc., and we found that the agency, I mean, most of the important words weren't even being paid for through the SEO. So once you know what all those keywords are, which is always where we start, once you start hashtagging those words everywhere across all of your pipelines, that's when you get your natural rise on Google without having to pay for AdWords. Okay, so with that company, you know, we literally took them, their top 5 keywords, we literally took them to pay between pages 1 and 2 purely by organic SEO hashtags. So there's a great site called answerthepublic.com where you can type in your whatever your subject is, and it tells you all the sentences that people are searching for on Google. Now, if you use those sentences in blogs, in articles, in general writing, Google will love you and you'll get that natural organic SEO. Good question, Jackie. Is it worth just posting on Facebook without putting money? It's important. Look, guys, the way we do it, so with that lady who had nothing, we put 5 posts, we set up a Facebook page, we put 5 posts, including an introduction to who she was post. Because what happens, remember when people move through the buying cycle, point 4 is they want to check that you align with them. So when they go stalking, because they will go stalking, if they go stalking and they can't find anything, or they find all rubbish and it doesn't align with them, you lost them. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. So yes, Jackie, definitely to build your audience, put the posts out there. But look, to be honest, like we've got an HR client, which is what Jackie does, and we put out a few, $25 I'm not talking massive amounts of cash, $25 to Facebook ad out some of the JobKeeper stuff, and she literally had something like 120 new likes on Facebook. So it's a great way to build your audience for not a lot of money. But then what you want to do is you want to keep educating those clients, because then that leads on to business, yeah, because you're moving them through the buying cycle faster. Fabulous. So guys, look, that's sorry David just took over there. Please jump on and connect with us on LinkedIn, and we'll follow up with an email with those templates, and we've got a special offer for you as well, which we'll stick in the email if anyone needs some more strategy going forward. But otherwise, guys, if there's no more questions, I will say thank you, David, for your fabulous input. And
Yeah, thank you all for your time today too. I know taking an hour out of your day is sometimes hard, so thanks for coming along.
Yes.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you guys. Much appreciated. Connect with us and tell everyone how good we are. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.